Hello and welcome to this course on the product realms. The product realms are a model and framework for thinking that I have used with product development teams and product leaderships for a number of years now. And the point of it is to help us appreciate what the impact is of where the product exists. When you think of a product, where do you think it exists? Is it just what you're seeing on a screen for a digital product or service, or what you're touching for a physical product, or is there more to it? So this is what we're covering in this particular video, and I'm going to do this training or teaching a little bit differently, where I will record the initial video and then we are going to work based off of your reactions to it. So I'm going to lay out and draw out on my iPad that we're going to move to very shortly in order to take a good look over the different product realms and work out what the implications are of the different product realms and how we can use this model in order to be much more considerate about how we are engaging with the product development workflow as a team and in collaboration with our target audience, representatives, customers, and users. And once the video is complete here, I'll remind you of my invitation to really use this as much as you can and think about what that means for you in your context with your teams and in product leadership. And then revert back to me with any comments underneath the video, and then we'll pick it up from there and work out what would be the next most useful challenge to pick off after covering the introduction to the product realms. So without any further ado, I'd like to share this model with you. And we're starting, of course, with the customer on the right-hand side. And in order to work out what we need to do, we need to have a good appreciation of the customer's user needs and the challenges that they are facing. So in order for working that out and working out what we do about that, then we have some ideas on the left-hand side. So this is essentially the end-to-end life cycle, right? We're looking at the idea to the live experience that the customer then has. And the product realms are all the stages where we can actually have a different appreciation for quite different state that the idea is in over the life cycle of the idea as it goes from idea all the way over into the hands of the customer. So let's see what we've got there. In the first instance, we are very much in the realm of the team, where the team is working together and they have conversations. We have all sorts of different ideas that we have there. And there might be also, of course, some creative conflict that they are navigating in order to work out what the different possible options are that they have together as a team. Creative navigation, right? It's a natural part of the product development life cycle. So those are some examples that help us to illustrate what the team realm is all about. Then we're getting a little bit more concrete. We're moving from ideas and conversations, intangible aspects, over to the first types of aspects that are becoming tangible. So here we are going into the realm of creation. So creation and creativity closely linked here, where we're starting to get more concrete. So here some examples would be, there might be sketches that are happening in order to align around different possible solutions and work out together as a team what we might do. We might create some other artifacts in the process of the product development. Our product backlog would be in here also, where we're taking note of some of these things, and everything is still quite malleable, right? Then we're going into the next realm, and the next realm is what I refer to as the construct. In the construct, this is where we have things like the software code, we have designs, and we have all sorts of different integrations that we need to be aware of that are actually making this up. Integrations. And these integrations are what then would be constituting the product as it is being rolled out to the customer. So that would comprise our live product. But that's not actually everything that comes with the product, right? The product is actually everything that comes together in order to influence the experience of the customer. So what we're looking at here in the real product realm is not just the live product, but also the service that we are designing around it. Everything that the customer needs, right? We might have sales and marketing in here also. And in sales and marketing, we have possibly the first touch point with the customer, right? So it needs to be in there also. The overall brand and the style guide, all of that needs to be worked out and is relevant when it comes to influencing the experience of the customer. One more thing is on here which might be relevant for some products is the community of other customers around it. And there's a lot of power in being quite proactive and strategic about how you're leveraging community. If it's a great product, then usually a community will form around it, but you can actually be proactive about that also, and then work with different parts of the community. Some of them could be beta testers and user research panel participants and so on and so forth. So you can actually work quite closely with the customers in there. The final one is the actual customer experience. And this is where I have no further notes because that's just what it is, right? This is the customer as they interact with the product and experience the product. We cannot control that, but we can influence it based on everything that we've covered here before. Everything that is in the product realm is a touch point between what we're creating and how the customer is using it and interacting with it. Okay, so those are all our product realms. We have covered everything from the team over to the customer experience, have taken a step through the team, working through the different ideas, having conversations around it. Whatever is worth being taken note of or being put down in sketches will be put down in sketches. We have elements like our product backlog in here also, where in the product backlog item will be further refined over time. And then we have worked out what works out of the creation stage and what makes it into the next realm, into the construct. Okay. And once we have created all of this, we have our live product, but it's not everything in the product realm yet because we need to add all these other things to it. We have our service, sales, marketing, and potentially our community. Those are all the things that then ultimately influence our customer experience. Good. Now, what does it mean for product leadership, for the team's consideration around how to use this? Firstly, our cost of change increases over time. Our cost of change, how costly is it in terms of time and materials in order to make a change to the product as we see it? It is very low in the beginning and grows over the course of the different realms as it goes through it, right? It doesn't cost a lot to have another conversation to think about something different, but it can potentially cost a lot in order to recover from a botched market introduction of a product. That's usually what often happens with big bang releases if there is hardly any customer collaboration in the product development process, right? And that's why agile product development, if done properly, already does things much more gradually and involves the customer over the course of time. So if we're leaving things to the last minute and only working with the customer later, there's a huge cost involved with changing anything, right? In order to train customer service agents on a new feature set or a new product, we need to plan that. It takes preparation of materials and it takes time of customer service agents. So the cost of change here is also significantly higher compared to everything that is happening over here, right? And actually creating code is more time intensive compared to creating some sketches and working out different flows and everything. Okay, so our cost of change increases over time. The rate of change decreases over time. Okay, meaning here again we can change things quite quickly. Once it's here, it takes a significantly longer time to change things. There are only a few exceptions when it comes to the rate of change in terms of the customer experience. So it's not a one size fits all, or this is the only rule when it comes to customer experience. Generally speaking, the customer experience develops over time as the user develops more affiliation and stickiness, hopefully also with the product. If you're solving for a real user need, then it will also be a stronger affiliation with your product or offering. And that tends to take more time. There are only a few exceptions to this, which are very poignant customer experiences. So something goes wrong and the customer or user is trying to get in touch with customer service to get some support and has a bad experience there. That is also not really a great thing to have, right? If there is a significant outage and the customer depends on the product, there's such stickiness and there's a significant outage, that is a bad thing to happen and can very quickly influence the customer experience, right? So bad experiences can influence the customer experience quite quickly. Positive experiences generally actually build the experience more slowly. And again, here are some exceptions. And that's why I'd like to go off on a little tangent when it comes to service. I started in 1999 when I got, when I started part-time, but then moved to full-time quite quickly. And I worked in a call center as a call center agent firstly, and then technical consultant in the call center for a mobile network operator. And it was an absolutely phenomenal experience and really, really prepared me for going into product management very shortly thereafter. Because I was in a position where I could directly interact with customers, often more than 100 times a day. In an 8-hour shift, we would have a minimum of 80 calls that we were supposed to do, and 100 calls would be good, and anything more with a high customer satisfaction rating was phenomenal. So I got to actually interact with roughly 100 customers every single shift, every single day. It was a great experience for me to learn about the customer's perception and how they are connecting with organizations and what they're doing, and trying to create empathy for how they are experiencing the product. And that really taught me a lot about the importance to consider designing your customer service approach very, very purposefully. Little things can go a long way in customer service. If the customer has to jump through hoops and automated services that don't work very well, that is a bad customer experience and will turn off the customer. And that leads me to another point, which is regarding customers who, for one reason or another, do not want to use the service any longer. The more difficult it is for a customer to pause or stop using the product, the less likely it is for the customer to ever come back. Personal example, which is not only, is not a sample of one that I make this statement in my recommendation to you, but I just wanted to support it with a personal example. A number of years ago, I wanted to learn an instrument, and I worked out different ways of learning and individual teacher and classes and things like that. And I found a music school, researched, and it seemed like they were doing the classes in a way that I would find they would work well for me also. And then I found out after booking myself onto these classes, I found a little bit more about them, realized actually that's not how it would be working with them, and I wanted to cancel my registration. And I was within the cancellation period, and I was well within my consumer rights, but they made it so difficult to get my money back, and ultimately I didn't get my money back, that I was so frustrated and annoyed with that provider that I will never ever consider them again, and I will never recommend them to anybody. If they had just let me cancel my booking very easily, I would have more than likely be interested in checking what else they have. Maybe there's something else that I can learn. I love to learn. Maybe there's something else that they have available that they would have there, right? When customers do want to leave, yes, we want to find out why, and we want to see whether we can make good on that and retain them as a customer. After going from customer services, I actually went into churn and retention marketing, so I got to learn a fair amount about that too. But ultimately, we need to respect the wishes of the customer and make it easy for them to leave us, right? So, and if we even make that a pleasant experience, then we will leave. We will have a happy ex-customer rather than a disgruntled and frustrated ex-customer. Okay, so I would invite you to be really, really purposeful and conscious about the creation of a great customer service experience, because that can go a long way, and also about the refund policies, right? For Amazon, for example, if you are dissatisfied with a product, with a low price point product, and you contact Amazon, in many cases they will simply ask you whether you think you would like to try a different one of the same price point and ship that to you rather than processing the return. Because overall, systemically, it will be more costly to them to actually process the return and do all these sorts of things than it is to only send you a new product out, right? So bear all those things in mind and think about the customer and what makes for a great experience for them in order to actually do that. So customer service has a big impact on customer experience. Good. So the rate of change decreases, the cost of change, generally speaking, increases over time. So where does that leave us? What are the implications for your product development workflow? This is where I will give you an opportunity to pause the video, think about these things for your own situation before I share my pointers. So if you'd like to take a moment, feel free to pause the video in a few moments when I say go, and then I'll share my own pointers. Okay, so if you want to do your own thinking, go. Okay, welcome back. Now I'd like to share my pointers. The implication of these that I've seen in product leadership and with product development teams over the years is, of course, that is actually relating to one of the principles of Agile software development, or Manifesto for Agile Software Development, where we want to embrace simplicity and maximize the art of work not done, right? Because we can actually spend more time here to think of very elegant solutions that ultimately take less work here and lead to a higher customer and better customer experience, right? So that's always the goal. We want to create the best customer experience with the least investment of actual time and team time required in the construct realm, and that means we can spend more time over here and be really, really purposeful about how we're approaching things. And more often than not, the first ideas that come to mind aren't necessarily the best ones. They simply reflect how we used to handle a particular situation in the past. So that's a big takeaway. The other one is to become very strategic about how all of these building blocks here in the product fit together, right? As you are considering what's happening here and you have representatives from the other teams or departments, if you're not working on a single team product experience where you're doing all the maintenance and service within the team, but you're actually in a larger company where you have a marketing and sales and customer service department, work with the representatives early on here as you create these things, so that you can also incorporate their perspectives when you're creating these things before they then ultimately make their way into the construct realm, right? So we always start with the customer experience. What are the user needs? What is the customer experience that we want to create? And we have all of these building blocks that help us create that customer experience that we can bear in mind as we go in here. Right? In some cases, it doesn't make economic sense to build something in here, but we can create a workaround with customer services. And in other cases, that doesn't make any sense, and we want to create something in here so that it actually goes into self-service, right? So there's self-service and customer service, and we can be quite purposeful about how we're leveraging all of those different parts of the organization that we have available to us. That is the introduction to the product realms. This is how we can use this for very active and conscious and deliberate creation of the product, and how to influence how we're leveraging the product development workflow over the course of the product development lifecycle. So now I'd like to remind you again that for the start, this is the only video that you will see here. I am now inviting you to watch this video if you would like, of course. Pause, play, watch it multiple times, and have a good think about how this relates to you and your environment. And then come back and share any comments, how it worked for you in practice, and any challenges that you might be facing that we can pick off in follow-up videos. There may be 1, 2, 3, not more than 3 videos in this mini course in addition to this first video. So I do hope to hear back from you soon. Let me know how it's working for you. And I wish you in the meantime all the best for the practice with your team. Thank you very much and goodbye.